All right. What's up with my fish peeps? All right, guys. We got Adele in the house. We got some amazing people tonight. You guys don't even know. Maybe you do because we shared it a little bit, but we're going to have some pretty amazing special guests today. Now, Biggs is on the road, and I'm staying in a hotel. And the reason that's really cool for me is I actually have a strong internet connection, so I can actually do things different than I can at home. At home, I only have an upload of 3, which doesn't sound like much to most people. But Jay Wilson, who's on right now on another hour, he's got 1,000 upload, and I have 3. So when I'm on the road, let's take advantage of it. Let's do some bigger things with some bigger people and have some fun. We're going to get to that in a second. Just some updates of what's been happening. If you guys saw the video this week that I posted on Tuesday, Luna, the coon pig at home, she had her babies. She had 6 healthy babies. We were about 3 weeks wrong in our estimate. Nice to see you, Ian. But she had 4 beautiful boys and 2 girls. You guys watched the video. My wife, the doula, was there for the whole process. She was basically a midwife to some pigs. It was pretty cool to see. We had the entire family, all the kids were out there for the whole process to see absolutely everything from start to finish. It was really, really cool. And we've only ever had the coon pigs ever deliver in late fall, early winter. And then we face all sorts of massive challenges because they're extremely sensitive to temperature. They cannot maintain their body temperature. So we always have to have them extremely locked in. Hey, Benny. Locked in their enclosure, and we feed them inside. And we do everything for the first 3-4 weeks. But because it's been so nice, literally the day after they were born, they ventured out with mom. And it's been all bets off now. And they're all doing great. They're thriving outside, so everything's doing good. Other things that are happening, if you guys have been seeing, there's been the postings of the different parts of the Bavarian build, the big beast. The beast is done. However, I'm actually thankful that I'm on the road because my backdrop at home, you would see the beast being done, and parts 4 and 5 haven't even aired yet. So it's kind of good that you guys don't get to see that, but it's coming up. Okay. What else we got for you? Oh, something I've been working with for a while. Now, you guys see some of my kids. You see Paisley all the time when we talk about isopods. You'll see Riley involved with the Bavarian builds and some of the different stuff involving plants. There's lots of stuff coming up with Riley. Isabel, my second oldest, is very, very much involved with the farm and doing different things. She helps me with the video all the time, but she's never one that's been wanting really to be in front of the camera. And my oldest daughter, Zoe, she's been helping me behind the scenes immensely. And I said to her, I says, like if we're going to go down the road and make up merch or anything like that, I'm not certain how many people want to have a giant head of an old dude on the front logo of their shirt. I know I'm pretty darn sexy, but most people don't want to see this when they look at their shirt, right? So basically, Zoe and me went together and tan teamed, and she had with all her legendary tech skills. I have none, as Rob's and a lot of people that help me out constantly with tech stuff, they know. But Zoe helped me out. So if you guys want to go check out a lot of the new videos, we'll be using the new logo. And we actually have Teespring now is up and loaded. We've loaded a couple of different types of shirts. I've loaded all the basic stuff, but I've also loaded some of the eco-friendly stuff because that's important to me with my stance in regards to sustainability and so forth. So I've added those. And we've got lots of other fun things coming up down the road. So all your set up for all your shopping needs. It's one-stop shop. I think you can take care of all your family Christmas shopping in one spot. Now, one thing I wanted to mention about Teespring is it goes on there and it tells you how much this is and how much this is and how much this is. I'm not looking at Teespring at the moment as being anything as sort of a financial thing because in Canada, I noticed that a large percentage of my following, not quite half my following, but a large percentage of my following is in Canada, and the Canadian dollar is absolutely terrible. So what we've done is I actually lowered the prices down. So T-shirts are $20. The hoodies and stuff go up. Everything goes up just a little bit, but I've kept the prices really, really low just to try and get the stuff out there to start with right now. So I'm not looking at trying to make any real money off it. I just want to get it out to the hands of some of the people that want it. So what are we going to be doing today? I thought with me being in a hotel and having unlimited internet, we got to do something big, and there's nobody bigger than bringing in these guys. You guys know these people. The absolute legends of the show. We got Mr. Big Rich and we got Josh from OFR. This is the tag team, 2 out of the 3 for Ohio Fish Rescue. And I thought there's nobody better that we could have to talk about exactly what we're going to be talking about. And this is responsible monster fish keeping. Now, these guys these guys do it right, and these guys go far and above and beyond almost anybody, and there's a reason for that, and it's a reason that their channel has grown to such lengths is because these guys think of the fish all the time. These guys have taken their family swimming pool and converted it for keeping fish, and they keep upgrading it constantly. If you guys are following their channel, which I am assuming you would, these guys are doing, they're putting backgrounds on it. They're making the environment natural. The filtration system put up by Greg Woodstock at, I feel like an idiot. What's the name of it, Big Rich?
Aquascape.
Aquascape. The work that these guys did is just absolutely mind-blowing. I've swam in this. I've made a few videos there. I could spend all day, and I have, swimming around in this pool. Now, something came to me is I wanted to ensure by having some people like Big Rich and Josh here with me, and we also extended the invite to a couple other really responsible and well-known guys in the field that deal with monsterfish, is I did not want this to be something that is going to be construed in any way as a negative. But I think it is something that is a topic that needs to be addressed and needs to be talked about, because keeping monster fish, there are many, many responsibilities. And just because you can run to your local home hardware store or Lowe's and buy a convex pool to set up in your family room does not make you a responsible monster fish keeper. You guys would agree?
Of course. Anybody can go buy a pool. Problem is, can you keep it warm? People don't realize you set that pool up in your basement, that basement floor is cold. Yep. We have an inch thick of insulation under ours to help, keep it warm and insulate it. A lot of people don't think about the leaking ability of it. Leaks everywhere. Ours leaks all the time. And we've gone through and already tried and tested all the different fish that you shouldn't have in a pool. And ours still gets leaks in it. Don't know how it happens.
You keep anything like those big Pilmodellid cats or those big Niger cats, they're like razor blades all down the side of the body of it.
Oh, Niger cats is the #1 catfish you do not want in a pool. They got them spikes all down their side, and like you said, they are razor sharp. But here's the problem: they like to hide along the edge, and they don't move. And then when you come peering over the edge to look for your fish, they dart and take off. Well, when they do that, they swap their tail and leaves you with like a 12-inch line of gashed water, just gashing out of the pool. It's crazy. And you're like, ah! Now, so no Niger or ripsaw or, any of them.
Now, I remember years and years ago at home, I've had always lots of tanks, but nowhere near the scale of what you guys have done. My fish room back in the day at my old place with the 750-gallon aquarium, which was insanely large by most people's standards. It was a plywood build. It was 8x4 by 3 feet tall, I believe. Trickle filter, and it was 100% oxygen saturation. It was great. But I never intended on keeping monster fish. I was always about smaller fish in really big environments. But I also had several 300-gallon tanks and 180-gallon tanks at my disposal. And this is the thing that irks me to no end when I talk about monster fish with people is they'll have this giant swimming pool and they'll have 100-plus gallon tank. And they never ever think about the considerations about exactly what's going to happen. If your ripsaw cat all of a sudden cuts a hole, what are you going to do with all those fish? Well, then most of them end up passing away, and they go, sorry, and then they just patch the pool, and you're a rescue again.
Right.
And I'm not everybody with that brush, but there are many of them that are like that.
That kind of brings
me Go ahead, Josh. No, you go, bro.
That kind of brings me to one of my points that I was going to mention. You can't discredit people for wanting to use the pool ponds, but if you do, you just have to make sure that you have a contingency plan. If something does go wrong, you have a backup plan to, make sure that your fish are safe. If, there's a 12-inch slice in the side of the pool and it starts gushing out water, you need somewhere a backup for these fish to go. Now, we use them here at the rescue, but at any given time, if there's a leak, we have 100 other tanks that these fish can go into. And we also have backup ponds here waiting on reserve if that one ends up going bad.
Yeah.
Like a 300-gallon Rubbermaid tote. We have it on reserve just in case. A lot of times people, okay, we have a 300-gallon Rubbermaid tote. Well, I'm going to use that as a pond. well, then you still have no contingency again. So you can't leave empty tubs sitting around like that because you want to use them, but then it takes away your contingency program.
No, I see it all the time. I see these people. What happened is years ago, Rachel O'Leary was at my place, and at the time she was a writer for Amazon's magazine, and she wanted to do an article about the tank, and she ended up doing a nice big article where she interviewed, I'm going to say 6 or 8 people. I don't want to misquote. It might have been other people that were contributing. I don't know for certain anymore. But my tank being a 750, I thought, oh, Biggs is pretty big. He's a big boy on the block with his big tank. And he definitely wasn't. There was people with these cinder block tanks in their basement. It's just monstrous tanks that they were building. And I call them white elephants. You go and build something out of cinder blocks in your basement of your house. You're all eager and you're pumped when you're building it. But the minute your enthusiasm changes or you have a die-off, hauling that stuff out of your house sucks.
Oh, yeah.
But Rachel wrote this big article about it and a bunch of stuff. And it was really, really, really good article. I was really impressed to be included in it. But the thing that happened is the following month, there was a smaller follow-up article to that article. And Rachel had no knowledge of it happening whatsoever. And there was no chance for her to even have a rebuttal or any of the people that were interviewed to have a rebuttal to it. But basically the rebuttal from these things was all from zoos and public aquariums and the people that took care of all these giant things. And it just, in Amazonas magazine, it just lambasted every single one of the people that were interviewed about how irresponsible they were for all these type of factors, that the what ifs. But they never asked whether or not we had other things in place, contingency plans and things to deal with should this happen, right? They didn't. But a lot of people did. And that's always kind of stuck in me, and it's always bothered Rachel. And I says, there are ways and means to keep fish responsibly. And most people just don't have the means. I wish they did. And like Josh says, I know the enthusiasm there and you want to do it, but maybe sometimes, especially when you're dealing with a living animal, sometimes you need to sit back and kind of think it through and say, this isn't in the best interest of the animal. I really like it, but I don't know if I love it when it's big, but I don't think I can properly give it the life it deserves when it's big.
For everyone watching, there's a close to 5-foot Arapaima coming up to say hi to everyone.
Brutus, it's really dark.
Yeah. You know what else? Yeah, it's really dark, Josh. You know what else is a problem with pools? You don't get to see the fish from the side like you do in a fish tank. Yeah. So you have to actually go out there and examine every day. When we first started using pools, we had a huge fish. It was a 4-foot-long tiger shovelnose named Big Papa. He was the one that everybody could pet, and he would swim away from you, swim a circle, come back, and you can pet him again. Mm-hmm. He was a really neat fish. One day I noticed he wasn't eating. I didn't think too much about it. The next day he didn't eat, and I started looking at him, and around his lips were all red. Well, I get in the water and I kind of look at him, turn him on his side, and he had red lines all over his belly. He had septicemia. And it hit like that. The next day he was dead. No matter, I gave him all kinds of medication. He was dead the next day. If he was in a tank I can view from the side, I would have caught that a lot sooner. Yep. So that's another problem comes in with big fish. You don't really see them. You just see their back when you're looking down on them.
Well, also you guys aren't just, people aren't always delivering fish to you. You guys have driven all across the states picking up fish. And we're not talking like I went and rescued a tank of guppies. You guys have driven what? John, what was that trip you went on? It was like, wait, wasn't it Washington State or something?
Oh, well, there was a couple out that way. The one for Washington State was my son, Josh, a buddy of mine, Ricky, and then my other son, Richie. The three of them went to Washington State, which is right above Oregon there. And you're right by Canada, basically. And it took them 72 hours to drive there and back if they didn't stop anywhere. So it was another probably 8 hours or so of being at the guy's house and picking up the 19 3-foot catfish. And we had built an 800-gallon tub for this purpose. And, Josh, you can go ahead and tell them about the trip.
Is this the prime trip?
All right.
Yes.
So first, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the 800-gallon tub. We're actually using it back here in the fish room. You can see there is a sock table up on top. There is 9 8-inch socks in here. Then we have a plethora of pothos sitting on top of this box.
Yep.
It is 8x4, and now this was in the back of a 14-foot box truck. And now, mind you, my dad had a good idea. Go ahead and slap a mattress on top of the fish box, and one person can take turns sleeping while the other two are driving. Well, you know, I did the first watch. I drove
Great idea.
all the way through to South Dakota. And I'm like, you know what? I've been driving for, you know, close to 16 hours straight. Now it is time for me to take a nap. And, you know, you're in the back of a closed cab, and there's fish in there and water. We went ahead and brought this lovely product called Prime. Now, for
Liquid
those of you
Prime.
that don't know about Prime, it has a heavy sulfur smell to it. Now, when you are in an enclosed cab with all them aerators going and that sulfur smell coming up, now mind you, I'm trying to sleep, and my brain got deprived of oxygen because of the sulfur smell. And the second I stepped out of this box truck, I pretty much collapsed and passed out.
Josh, hold up. Let me set up that story right there. Now, mind you, his brother Richie is driving, and Ricky's in the front of the truck. Josh is in back sleeping. Well, they've been driving for a while. Josh has been sleeping. They pull into a gas station, and they're filling up in the fuel, and they decide to go inside and get some food and some drinks and all that kind of stuff. So now they're inside probably 15 minutes. They took a long time, and they come walking outside, and there's like a crowd around the truck. And, you know, Richie's got his arms full of like chips and sandwiches and all kinds of different foods and stuff. Him and Ricky come walking up to the truck like, what's going on? And, man, this crowd lit into him. Now, mind you, they've already called the police. So I'm telling you the truth. They've already called the police, but they start lighting into Richie about getting his little brother drunk, right? And just yelling at him, screaming at him. And Richie's like, what are you talking about? And they're, how dare you, you know, let this poor young innocent kid drink and blah, 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 and this and that. Well, Josh had walked out of the truck, hit the fresh air, got all that fresh air, and got lightheaded and fell out of the back of the truck and passed out and laying on the ground. Unbeknownst to Rich, he's in the store, you know.
Well,
so now
one, it's illegal for somebody to ride in the back of a box truck anyways. And I'm sure that's still a law in the States. Am I right?
Well, now probably, but this was 10 years ago. So anyways,
what they don't know will hurt them, all right?
Yeah, but they called the cops. Obviously, I'm assuming, I was also going to ask is, could you open the box truck only from the outside? Or could you open it from the inside?
Yeah,
no, outside.
So how did you find out if they were in the gas station?
Because he let me out.
Oh, before he went in, he unlatched the door. But anyways, so now Richie's dealing with the crowd, right? And dealing with all this craziness. The cops pull up. Now they want to breathalyze everybody, make sure they're not drinking because they got reports of this drunk kid. So Richie passes the breathalyzer. Ricky passes the breathalyzer. Now they go to Josh. And they know darn well he's drunker than can be. He's fallen out of a truck, you know. They breathalyze him and find out he's not drunk. It was the Prime. The Prime is the culprit.
He wasn't doing meth or anything. There's no way they could test for that.
Right. So yeah, the moral of the story is don't use Prime in an enclosed, you know, chamber. It was something else.
Well, like when you guys travel, and this is all something you've had to learn over the years of all these years that you guys have done that, you can't just go and pick up, like the first time you went and rescued a fish, whatever it was. What was the very first fish that, like, we'll say true monster fish that you actually went and picked up somewhere?
I couldn't even tell you, buddy.
I can't remember that. That's a hard question.
A wrong question. Need a bigger super chat to get that question answered. But you guys, you know, you dipped your toe and you started doing rescues and stuff, and things got bigger. And as your name kind of spread around, you know, you were in Ohio, and probably almost everything was all in Ohio to start with, right, or close by. And all of a sudden, the world got around, and you guys were willing to drive across the entire country to go pick up stuff that really was just going to die otherwise. But not only do you guys go all that way to pick it up, you guys think of every aspect of logistics to be able to pick them up, transport them safely, and get them all back alive. And you guys have pretty much a 100% flawless record in bringing fish back, because you guys also understand the chemistry. You'll stop. You'll check the water chemistry. You were telling me stuff today, Rich, and I don't want you can talk about it if you want, but because I don't want to spoil any videos that are coming up. But you were talking about one today where you came back from Chicago and you had to make all these different stops and do water changes because of the type of fish you were carrying.
Yeah, well, they were 36-inch huge koi, and the biggest koi I've ever seen. And they're to go to Shaquille O'Neal's house. So I went up to Chicago and met Greg Woodstock, and we went and did 100 koi rescue. Well, he picked out 13 koi to go to Shaquille O'Neal's house. So now he voluntold me that I'm going to be driving down to Georgia and delivering these to Shaq's house myself. So I had to bring them back from Chicago to Ohio, which is a 6-hour drive, in a 300-gallon tub, and these fish were just packed in there. So obviously the water's going to go bad quick. It's going to lose oxygenation quick. And because this guy didn't prep the fish, they're defecating, they're peeing, the ammonia's coming up. I had 2 filters in there and then 2 air stones. Was not enough. I had to stop, drain out the water, put fresh water in, and it's really hard to find a truck stop or a gas station that has a utility tub where you can hook up water to the hot and the cold. Usually you find a spigot, and that comes out at 50 degrees, basically around there.
Yeah.
So, you got to find a place that does give you hot and cold water for the water changes, and you got to bring the dechlor or prime with you, whatever you want to use. And you have to do these water changes, but you have to know by testing the water. I usually tell by if it starts smelling, it's time to pull over and test the water. If the fish are at the top gasping for air, it's time to stop and do a water change, that kind of stuff.
Do you have a camera that you put in the back, or is Josh riding?
Oh, yeah. I have a wireless camera. Actually, let me turn this. Can you see the camera right there?
Yeah.
It's in front of the cameras. I have a wireless camera like that I plug in, and it's only 8 feet in the back to me, but I can point that at the fish and I can see it on my phone while I'm driving. So it makes things easier. I don't have to, get up over the chair while someone's driving out of the seat, take the seatbelt off, crawl over the back, look at the fish, then come back up and sit down, put your seatbelt back on. The little camera makes it easier.
Hey, Chris.
Yes, sir.
Nice shirt you got on.
You like that, eh? I wore that fancy shirt today, but I had to wear this special shirt.
Yeah, there ain't many people with all black ones now. That's a new thing.
Well, now it's offered on Teesprings. There's going to be a lot more than we think.
I did the Teespring thing, and I was absolutely floored by the amount of stuff that's on there. I just thought it was kind of funny, but you don't have the creativity abilities the same way as I kind of wanted. You can go to a shirt and they'll show you all the different colors that you can do with the shirt and how your logo looks on that shirt and all that stuff. And I got that. But then I saw the leggings, you guys did the leggings for your mother. And I thought, woohoo, who wouldn't want Mad Aquarius leggings? Logo on the side, Mad Aquarius down the leg. But I wanted to put, you see the women wearing sweatpants and it says juicy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wanted sweatpants that says, "What's this madness?" written on the back. Apparently that wasn't an option. And then I was looking for thongs. Yeah, that wasn't an option either.
Yeah, they don't offer lanyards and different underwear and stuff like that. And then if you try and print on the socks, it's really hard to do. They don't give you the options you need. Them leggings, I'm not making nothing on them because the more that you print on there, the higher their cost is.
Yeah.
So the leggings that we have for Ohio Fish Rescue is $39.99, and I think it's $37 to print them. So I'm making $2 off each one. But it's just ridiculous the cost of their printing. And then their products ain't that good. I had a customer or a member order the black leggings and a black T-shirt. They come in two different colors of black. They don't really match. Same thing with the pink. I ordered because all these people are giving Tracy all these gifts and stuff. I'm like, well, I don't have nothing there for Tracy, So I ordered her a set of pink leggings and a pink T-shirt, all Team Tracy decked out, really nice. And the pink T-shirt is like almost twice as dark as the pink leggings. If you order a pink shirt and a pink pants, it should be the same color. So I have problems with Teespring a little.
He's literally the only straight man I've ever heard that really was concerned about matching.
Hey.
Think about matching. I'm wearing like Bermuda shorts right now, and I don't care. I'm a guy. We don't think about stuff like that.
Well, I got a little bit of OCD in me.
Well, I thought it was really funny. There was one thing that was on there. There was like a beach towel. And I'm like, hey, who doesn't want a beach towel with the bigs on it? Of course, everybody's going to want one of that. But I said to my daughter, who has helped me out, I says, well, we've got to put it in a way that it's a fish room cleanup towel or other cleanup towel. It doesn't matter, but fish room cleanup towel. And I put it out there. But some of the prices they want to sell these things for. And then it tells you, most people sell this for such and such. And I'm like, why? It's a towel.
Right. Who's going to pay $54 for that?
But there's a Canadian site as well that's not Teespring, and I can't remember the name of it. I showed it to my daughter, and I might sign up with them as well so the Canadian people have access to something that's a little bit more affordable, because even though it's an American company, Teespring, and you buy it at Canadian price, you know what the price is. So instead of $20, it's 34 or whatever it is with the conversion. By the time you bring it up, you're also going to pay duty on it. You're going to pay all these other taxes on it. It's going to almost double the price.
Right.
So I looked at this Canadian one. The Canadian one has all sorts of random things. It has, if you were ever an Elvis fan, you know how Elvis used to wear those satin scarves?
Yeah.
I can get those. I think that'd be great for like a fish convention, just to take off your sweaty scarf and throw it out at the crowd.
Chris.
Yes,
I've never seen a straight man so giddy over silk scarves.
All right. Now, if we're going to talk about Monsterfish, let's get back on topic. When we were talking about your escapades of all these traveling back and forth. Now, you guys are going to deal with right now. You guys are dealing with it's pretty much summer type temperatures for you guys where you are, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Traveling with fish that are super high oxygen, cold water fish, and you're trying to give them the biggest environment you can to get them home safely. You're going to take them and drive south where it's going to be hotter.
I know, but being that it's
More
inside the Grand Caravan, we just put the air conditioner on and keep it at like 70 degrees in there. I've got the rear air and the front air, so that keeps it cool. And on longer trips, we take filters. I got two FX4s I can put on there, along with a Tetra Tech deep water pump that has a double output. So I can put a big, huge air stone on each side of that and put them in there. So it's pumping out air, and the FX4s are filtering, taking out the ammonia and the nitrites and all that. And then as it pours back in, it's also making oxygen too.
And you're on like a power converter and stuff like that. You can plug it right into the van.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I do this a lot, I bought a 5,000 watt power converter, and I just run an extension cord into the back to a 6-pack. I can plug in what I want.
Yeah. But think back when you guys started this to where you are today, regardless of how many tanks that you have and the size of the tanks, the amount of knowledge and stuff that you guys have garnered just by traveling and picking up fish and getting them home alive. And you still have pretty much 100% success rate in doing it. How many people say that? How many people could actually hold their hand up and say, yeah, I can do that? Not very many.
Not very many. We've had people that have asked us, how can I transport it? It's a 4-inch ballast shark. I'm like, well, you can put it in a bucket, fill it halfway or so. Make sure you put a lid on it because it is a ballast shark. It will jump. And then, run some air to it. And even if you can't get air, every 2 minutes, take a cup of water, take it out and splash it back in. The higher you hold it and splash it back in, the more oxygen you make. And they get here, and it was like a 45-minute drive or something. And the fish is sitting there floating and barely, able to hold itself up no more. It's been gasping for air for so long. I was able to save it, but these people just don't listen. You know, you have to listen. What I'm telling you is not bull. It's for the safety of the fish.
Yep.
You know, if you have an air compressor or I'm sorry, an air pump, put that on it. Not everybody has battery operated air pumps. You know, you can get them at Walmart in the fishing section. They're for minnow buckets, and they cost like $6, and it lasts like 2 days on 2 D-cell batteries, and it'll just put air in.
Yep.
Well, on the longer trips, you can't just put air in. You have to actually filter the water, and you need to preset up the fish. Don't feed them for 3 to 4 days before you transport them, so that they're not peeing and defecating in the water.
Is that one of the biggest challenges that you guys face with? Because every time you guys are going and rescuing fish from people's homes, these are their absolute loved and cherished pets, and they want to give them the best. And they don't understand that. What do you mean you don't want us to feed Sammy for 2 days or 3 days? Of course they're going to feed them. They're going to feed them up until 10 minutes till you pick them up, right?
That kills me. I just wanted to get one last feeding in before you took them. Oh. I mean, that you're basically trying to kill your fish, because you know he's going to pee in the water that has no filter, and he's going to be living in his own pee, ammonia. You know, it's terrible.
I had years ago.
People need to listen.
I had a big breeding pair of Oscars. They were full-size Oscars, so you know it's not. I wouldn't call them monster fish, but whatever it is, you know, 14 inches in size. And at the same time, I was also keeping a lot of snakes and breeding a lot of snakes. And when snake feeding day came, you didn't count who's blue. And what I mean by blue is a snake that's about to shed generally won't eat because its eyes cloud over, it can't see. So they generally don't eat when they're about to shed. So they're called blue. But I had so many snakes. So when it came to feeding day, I would just check out X amount of mice, X amount of rats, juveniles, hoppers, adults, everything. And I had everything out and I defrost everything at the same time. And once everything was to temperature, I would just an assembly line go and feed everybody. And occasionally you'd have a snake that would be blue or wouldn't eat, and you'd have extras. Well, I had some snakes that I called my garbage cans. They would always take a second feed or something like that. But I still remember this one day that I ended up with one extra adult mouse. It's dead. It's you know, for reptiles, if you're a responsible snake keeper, you're buying frozen rodents who are frozen ethically. And I prepared this mouse for it, and it didn't take it. So I had this one extra mouse and nobody to feed it to. So I fed it to the Oscars about an hour and a half before my buddy came to pick up the Oscars.
Oh, no.
And I thought it was just funny because I thought, I know what's going to happen, but I just thought it'd be kind of funny. And it didn't regurgitate the mouse until it was in the bucket 5 minutes before it was. He already taken the lid off at home, and he went to take the fish out, and it regurgitated in the bucket. And all his kids were there and everything. We got to feed it mice, Daddy.
Oh, no.
I'll never forget.
He called you cussing you out, didn't he? He called you cussing you out, didn't he?
Which?
He called you cussing you out, didn't he?
Oh, he did. It's a good friend. Well, I want to make there was a couple of quick super chats here. Sand Creek Aquatics, thank you very much. I very, very much appreciate it. And my dear friends, Scott and Liz over at King and Queens, he loves the scarf design. Well, who wouldn't love the scarf design? He's got a poster of me in his fish room, and the only reason it's in his fish room is his wife won't let him put it in the bedroom where it needs to be. So what else can we talk about, guys, in regards to ethical and responsible monster fish keepers? Because you guys see it far more than I do. You guys are the ones in the forefront going out solving the problems for people. So you see what they're dealing with. You just rescued a woman, just brought you a nice big Pacu again.
Yes. We get a bunch of them. Josh, you want to take this?
Where do we start? Well, first, I don't know. Give me a category you want to hear about. Because, I mean, we've got stories upon stories. You want to hear about rescues, personal experiences?
No. Problems with monsterfish, like keeping different fish together that shouldn't be together. People always want to get the big fish, that kind of stuff. Other problems you've ran into.
The industry's not going to change. The industry's not going to change quickly, right? People are still buying these things. Red-tail catfish babies are always popular in the pet store. They're plentiful. They're easy to catch. They're cute. People are always going to be buying this. And for us to say, well, we got to change the industry and educate everybody. Yes, I agree we do, but it's very, very challenging and it takes a very slow process. Bottom line is we have people like you guys, but we don't have enough people like you guys out there that are willing to go to the lengths that you guys go to. And the fact remains that most of these fish are going to perish, the ones that don't end up at Ohio Fish Rescue.
I don't have a problem with red-tail cats. You know, people say red-tail shouldn't be in the hobby. Tiger shovelnose, you know, iridescent sharks. I don't have a problem with none of them because I still have a waiting list of people that want these bigger fish off of me. Here's the problem I have with them. Pacu and Pacu only is the main fish I have a problem with. Now, it's the fastest growing fish. It gets big real fast, and it's the cheapest of the monster fish. A baby red tail will cost you $20. Yeah. A baby Pacu will cost you $1.99.
Yep.
Now here's the problem. Let's say you go into the superstore, pet store, and little Joey buys a 10-gallon tank, and then he sees these things and they're being glorified as vegetarian piranhas. Oh, they sort of look like baby piranhas, and they're glorifying them that they don't eat meat or nothing like that, and they sell them. So they sell them $3.99 Pacus in a 10-gallon tank. Now this is ridiculous.
Yep.
They should not be selling Pacu for one. It is the worst problem fish, and it is the most killed fish on the planet, basically.
Yep.
So now this kid goes home.
Fish eater and Pacu are delicious.
Oh, you stop. Fish are friends, not food.
Yeah, birds are food. That's right.
So anyways, this kid now, 2-3 months later, that 10-gallon, or a month later, that 10-gallon is nowhere near big enough for him. And, they upgrade to a 55. 3-4 months down the road, that 55 isn't big enough. Now they have to upgrade more, or they have to get rid of the fish.
And eventually,
some people
they can't afford to upgrade, or just their family's not willing to upgrade more.
Right. So they let them go in the local streams or something. I mean, it's just ridiculous, the problems. This is a problem. This happens all the time, Chris. I'm telling you.
Oh, I agree.
Now, here's the thing. We get all the fish that get big, all the monsters. I work with like 9 different public aquariums. They want all of the other fish. The public aquariums do not want the Pacus because there's so many available, and they already have too many. Yeah. So now not only are they the cheapest for sale, the fastest grower, now nobody wants them when they're big. There's a few, monster fish keepers out there that will take them in, but they're few. Yeah. On the general, nobody wants the big Pacu, not even the public aquariums. So now it's all it rests its head on my shoulders. I have to fix the problem. I have to take these Pacu in. Well, the problem with that is what I do now is I'm trying to alleviate that problem by I give out a window cling for pet stores that says this store is backed by Ohio Fish Rescue. I'll give it to any pet store for free if they agree not to sell baby Pacu.
Is that the only fish?
That's the only fish. I have no problem with any other fish getting rid of them. I have never had a problem with any other large fish. I've got waiting lists. I've got a list right now of different public aquariums that want different fish. So I have no problems getting rid of any of the other ones. Just Pacu is the only one I have a problem getting a home for.
Yeah.
You have to be, ethically a good person to get a window cling too. I mean, it can't just be you can't sell Pacu and we'll give you a window cling. We have to believe in your store, make sure you're good people, give out good advice, and you're actually there for the well-being of the fish and for the hobbyist and not just out to make a quick dollar. Because what was the store? I'm not going to mention the name that we did go ahead and back and we did a massive rescue for. And now we won't send nobody to that store because they keep selling Pacu and they keep just wanting to be selfish for themselves and make the dollar over caring for the well-being of the fish. Now, most of these fish are, destined to life inside of a vat, and we just can't get behind that. So we revoked our name being associated with that store.
See, my kind of stance on if I were a store owner, and I'm not, but if I were a store owner, I think my responsibility, and this is just my opinion on it, my responsibility would be that if I'm going to carry anything at all that's live in my store, I have to be able to sell the appropriate size home for it for life and equipment to be able to take care of it. However, if somebody comes in and can provide to me pictures or whatever and have that discussion that they can provide for the life of an iridescent shark, red-tailed cat, Pacu, whatever it ends up being, at that point, and then only at that point, then I would take a deposit and then I would order that item in for them. But I don't want to be responsible as a store owner. When I did work retail, I saw it repeatedly that stores would set up these big display tanks at the front of an aisle or something with a waterfall, and they set it up in the beginning. It'd be beautiful with all tetras swimming, a little Amazon habitat, and then somebody would surrender an Oscar or a Pacu, and it would just be a downward spiral, and that store became a dumping grounds for everybody's stuff that they didn't want anymore or couldn't house. But also that store wasn't in a position really to house those things for life either, but they still sold them. Or people in the store area still sold them. You know what I mean? I can't place blame on one guy or another. It's challenging, and I know in the retail market, having worked in the retail stores, it's very, very challenging today, especially in today's market, trying to fight against online retailers who don't have to have a brick and mortar store, can sell the same thing for far less than you can by owning an actual store with actual trained staff. You know, it's a very challenging market in today's age. So, you know, we got to kind of weigh both evils and figure out where it's going to go. But I agree wholeheartedly with you, Josh. If you guys are going to put your name behind something, it's a give and take. You got to hope that they're going to follow up on their end.
Well, you know, the one thing that I wish I could do, if I could change anything, I don't want to eliminate Pacu out of the fish trade. I don't want to, you know, try and get a bill passed and all that kind of stuff. The one thing that I would hope for is that we can get Pacu on special order only through everywhere. And that would alleviate so many. I mean, I know a monster fish keeper that told me his own words were, you know, when people surrendered their Pacus to me, I took them out in the backwoods and just threw them out there and let them die. They become fertilizer for the garden. And I'm like, how could you do that? And he was
responsible to one and not another, right?
Right. So yeah, if that's the one thing I could change, it would be to special order Pacu only.
Well, the rest of them, on the other side, being on the logistics sides of that, Pacu are plentiful. Pacu are sold because I see them coming into the wholesalers all the time. They come in a very, very large pack size because they travel really, really well. They're like stingrays. They don't use up a lot of oxygen during transport. So you can't special order one Pacu because in the States, every pet store is buying. They're not all buying from the actual catcher, the guy in Manaus, right? They're buying middlemen all along the line, and no middleman's going to bring in an order of Pacu, knowing full well that one store in Chicago wants 3, and one guy in Ohio wants 1. They all have to take like 15, 20, whatever the pack size is. So, but your way, by doing it your way, you would eliminate Pacu quickly because no wholesaler would carry them anymore because it's too much of a pain in the ass. It's a win-win. Can you see the questions? Can you guys see the chat?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can see them.
There's a question there that maybe Josh can answer from Rayner. How big should a pond be for Soleris glanus? I don't know.
Well, those fish get absolutely massive. They can get up to man-eating proportions. And when I say man-eating, I do mean man-eating. A full-grown human being can fit in this catfish's mouth.
Is that a well?
So, yes, a Wells catfish. They hail from Europe. They are a cold water catfish. Yeah. They can get over 9 foot long. And one of my buddies, local here in Ohio, used to have one. And this thing was only 4 or 5 years old. The thing was every bit over 5 foot long. His mouth was, 12 to 14 inches wide. He'd suck down whole fillets of tilapia like he was just nibbling on a cracker or something. So a pond for a full-grown Wells, I would say this 3,000-gallon tank here is 16 by 6 by almost 4 foot tall. I would say this tank is too small for a full-grown Wells. I would not put that catfish in this tank and think it would be okay for life. So I don't really know about gallonage, but it matters about footprint. The larger footprint you can give the catfish. So say if it's a 9-foot catfish, I would go, 10 foot on depth and however long that you could possibly go to give him as much room as you possibly can.
But if you were to say, hypothetically put a Wells cat and you had nothing else in your swimming pool and you would put a Wells cat in there, anything you would add in there eventually would just become prey to it, would it not?
And
yes,
we
sir.
wouldn't be able to swim in there no more.
I got bit by, what's that one hybrid catfish in your pond when I was there?
That's a red-tailed cat crossed with a tiger shovel nose.
That's the only
guy right here, right on camera. One of these guys, but he's closing in on 4 foot.
He's a jerk. He bit my foot and he pulled my whole leg back.
They do shake a little when they grab on.
You're lucky he didn't grab onto something else, Chris. You had a lot of meat in your pants.
Your dad was,
and I am talking about the shrimp only.
Yeah. Your dad was pretty specific. Your dad put a lot of thought and love and care into my well-being before I did. And he said there's one thing I had to have was a protective cup. So I was on the road and I had to go to a sports store. I don't play hockey. I know I'm a weird Canadian. I don't play hockey, but I've never owned a cup. And I had to go to a sports store and ask the guy about a protector. I didn't know where they would be. I didn't know where in the store to look. And I had to ask him where these would be. And he says, what do you need it for? I says, why? Does you think I don't play hockey? He goes, like, not knowing anything about them or where they are, I'm just kind of guessing you don't. And then I had to tell him the story that I was going to a place in Ohio that had a swimming pool full of monster predatory catfish. It was a riot. And they're trying it on, looking in a mirror.
Oh, geez. Hey, let me clarify for a minute there. People are hearing Josh talk about, all the meat in your pants and all this stuff. I need to clarify because that sounded really terrible. You went into my predatory pond with all kinds of big 4-foot-long catfish in a mesh bag full of tilapia. Okay, that's what Josh is talking about. Okay,
that's what I was talking about. Shrimp, he has, small meat in his pants.
All you need to say, Josh, is there was an awful lot of meat in those shorts. You could have just left it at that. So, what do you guys got on the plate next? You guys got your thing down in Georgia. I know reality because I've talked with Big Rich a lot, but you guys get these things just kind of pop up all the time. But you have like a standing list of people saying, well, if you're ever in this area, I have this.
All right, Chris, I'm laying on my bed right now, and I'm going to show you my headboard. It's a mirrored headboard, but let me see if I can turn this.
I don't even know why you want to show me that.
Do you see these notes, Post-it notes all over my mirrors? Can you see that?
Yes.
Them are the ones on the left are the ones for going west. The ones on the right are for going east. The ones up north are going north. The ones on the bottom are for going south. And when I get enough in one direction, I'll plan that trip out. And that's how I do it.
That's insane.
Well, and another thing, I just went to Chicago to bring Greg Woodstock the fish for his Turtletopia and the alligator snapper that we had. Once I was there, he came up with the idea that you're taking Shaquille O'Neal's fish back. You're going to care for them until he's back at his house. Then you're going to drive them to Georgia. He ballin' told me this. So it wasn't on my plans, So, now our next trip is going east. We're going out to New Jersey, New York, Staten Island, Long Island, Massachusetts, and Vermont. So we're going on a big East Coast trip next.
I remember, like in Canada, I guess I get spoiled when I travel. I go to some of these stores where they have these massive population bases. But I remember when I spoke in New Jersey and I toured around a few of the stores. I went to one particular store in somewhere around there. I know the name, but I'm not going to say the name because it was a stunning store, and they had probably a dozen of those platinum alligator gar that you have in your pool. And they were like, I don't know,
nice.
15 grand. And they had all sorts of datnoids and all these giant different types of catfish. And everything was, reasonable size still. And I'm like, this entire building could fit inside of a single house. Like, it was a small shop and had several layers and stuff. But if you're going to spend $15K on a fish, I think you should maybe spend more than $1 or $2K on the setup for said fish.
Right. Well, there's nothing worse than having a $5,000 fish or $2,000 fish or a $15,000 fish die on you, and you're just out. You don't get nothing for it. You're done. It's over with. That's crazy.
But I don't understand how it crosses people's minds and saying, "Oh, look at this! The hardware store has these 1,000-gallon swimming pool, plastic liner swimming pools on sale for $39.99. I can finally get my $15,000 platinum gar."
The rule of thumb that most fish keepers live by: you get the filtration, you get the tank set up, and then you buy the fish.
We'd like to dream that way, but that's not reality, is it?
Not at all.
No, see, and we're kind of the problem here too, because, and I didn't notice it, but somebody, called me on this, and they're like, by you guys having that showroom you have and all them big fish, you're glorifying owning Monsterfish, and people are wanting to do what you're doing, and they're going out and getting an Intex pool, and then they're going to buy a red tail and a Pacu and a tiger shovel nose and a Niger cat, and then now when they can't take care of it, they have to give them to us. I didn't mean to glorify this whole situation. I was trying to save fish from being dropped in, like a warm water fish like a Pacu. People are giving them and throwing them in the rivers and throwing them in Lake Erie. Come wintertime, they're going to die.
Yep.
So you're sentencing your fish to death, and you're thinking you're doing something good for them. It's the lack of knowledge is what's killing the fish.
If anybody's watching OFR and even if they've only watched 1 or 2 of your videos, or they sub and watch all of them, if they're going to go out and say, "I want to do that," you're glorifying it. They think that by going out and buying a pool or having 1 or 2 aquariums in their house with bigger fish, I think they're missing the point of everything that you guys preach about week after week.
Right.
But you see, there is a big but to that statement. We might have an Intex pool here. We use it as a sump for our fish tanks.
Yep.
That all the fish tanks return to it. But there's hardly no fish in that setup over there. We are not using Intex pools to house our fish. We're using actually tanks and vats and big ponds and big aquariums. And we're not really condoning the use of these Intex pools. So if people want to go out and buy one and set up a pond in their basement and say that we are their inspiration, well, I mean, that's up to them on their own accord. They can't really say that we are the problem, because we're sitting here showing off our homemade tanks. If you want to build a tank like we did, there are build videos online. You can build a tank like the 3,000 in front of me. So we're not condoning the use of the pool ponds, but I'm also not saying that the use is not there.
Joshy,
what?
Turn that camera around and go show them just how little fish are in our 1 Intex pool that we have. We do use it as a sump. Our biological.
Every time I've been to your guys' place, you have that one thing in the far back corner there, and at most you've had a couple of rays and maybe some small, almost like you use it as a staging
here.
Stuff.
I have 2 stingrays there, 2 stingrays there, and 2 purple rune sharks. This is a 14x7 sump. All our filtration falls back into these barrels here, and it's basically just a water reservoir.
Yep.
Now, the only reason the maroon sharks are in here is they're being healed up right now before they go into the big pond out there.
Yep.
And then it's just going to be 4 stingrays in this pond, and that's it.
Now, there was a question here. I'm going to try and guess just for fun. But Ian Atkins asked, what is the favorite monster fish? What is your favorite monster fish that is not – oh, sorry. What is your favorite monster fish that's not at OFR? So, Big Rich, do you have a favorite fish that you don't own at OFR yet? And Josh, do you have a favorite fish that you may not have ever had at OFR yet?
We've had before. We don't have right now is a Para-Eva. I love them Paraivas.
Yep. How about you, Joshy?
Wait a minute. Let's not get mistaken. We have a pair.
Not a true Paraíba. Josh, we lost you, buddy.
You went into a black hole.
Sorry, guys. I walked too far away from the router and had to swap to my mobile data. But this is a Cap of Freedom, a false Paraíba. He only gets about 4 foot long. My dad's talking about the true filamentosum that can get up to man-eating proportions.
That's the largest medallid catfish in the Amazon, right?
Yeah, that's a brachyplatystoma filamentosum is the true Paraíba.
Yeah.
But we also cannot forget there are 2 kings of the Amazon. You know, most people know about the Paraíba and how large they get, but they also forget there is another man-eating catfish that hails in the Amazon, and it is called a jowcat or a zingaro.
I love that.
And they can get massive.
Spencer up in Winnipeg has one of those that I don't know if he caught it or they caught it on one of their expeditions when they were in the Amazon. And he has it. I'm like, and it's like a $750 or $1,000 catfish in Canadian money, so it's like $18.99 US. But he has this in his shop, and I'm like, what's the big deal with the ugly catfish? It's just he says, oh, when it gets bigger, it's gold. Is that right?
Yes, brown and gold.
One of the 7 known man-eaters on this world.
Well, there's
at one time
more threatening catfish that I would consider more of a man-eater in the Amazon, but it doesn't overly get all that big, and that'd be the candiru. And I really don't want to deal with the candiru, but I definitely want at Seagrass to finally get me some one day so I can do a video and study them, because I think that's just an absolutely fascinating fish.
Wow.
If you get candiru, Rich, though, I don't want to swim in that pond, especially after a night that we're enjoying ourselves.
No, not even with a cup.
So
it's
back
the barbs
to your
on the side
question.
of the head that get you. What's that,
so
Josh?
Back to your question. You asked.
It's so ugly that he cannot be on camera at any point in time. Shame.
I think we lost him again.
No, I'm just letting you guys talk. I'd much rather show viewers the fish than my ugly face. Just saying.
So what would be your favorite fish that if you had a dream fish that you'd want to have at OFR? And that's not clarifying the collecting aspect, but if there was one fish that you really wanted to have in your collection, what would it be?
Well, you mentioned one that we have not had at OFR because we've pretty much had a massive collection throughout the years. We've had pretty much all of our dream fish that we can dream of, but there are 2 that come to mind that are 100% illegal to own in the United States. And one of those is the Asian arrow, which you guys can own up in Canada, and I'm highly jealous of you.
Oh, they're so plentiful. We sell them as feeder fish now.
Oh, yeah? But
Josh, let's just hang up on them. Let's just go.
The other one is actually the giant snakehead. I would love to have, just a big giant snakehead in the pond out here. And they get this massive, great green coloring to them. And they are ferocious fish. So I would love to have one, but they are legal. So
yeah,
we don't.
All the snakeheads in Canada, not all of them are illegal. The problem in getting them is they are illegal in Ontario, so that's your Toronto area, and they're illegal in BC. And the problem being is the one you're talking about, the 2 giant one, is either going to be Chinensis, Asiatica, and there's one more, and I can't remember the name. But those are the 3 big ones, and those are the ones that are the threats that have been established, naturalized in states like Washington, D.C., Maryland, those sort of areas and stuff. And these fish have become a huge problem. What they fail to acknowledge is that these fish were never introduced from the pet trade because they've never been imported for the pet trade. But they have been imported in large numbers live for the Asian food market trade. I'm pretty sure it's not us guys. But those fish have gotten out. And because of that, because the snakeheads are so incredibly voracious. They're like wolffish from South America. They'll kill everything that comes into their area, defend it, and kill it. And when it gets to be a meter long, it's definitely a force to be reckoned with. But all the stuff that we would access in Canada, primarily the country of origin would be India. And when we used to bring in the stuff in out of India, the problem being is it has to come in and land either in Toronto or in Vancouver, and then it has to go through transfers of an airport, and it has to transfer within bond to be able to go onto a different airline. And that's always been the struggle. It's not worth the hassle to bring in something. If it says Chana, the Latin name for snakehead, on an invoice anywhere, you're automatically going to get flagged for incredible scrutiny. So it's just not worth any wholesaler to try and bother bringing them back in and risk losing the entire shipment. Because coming from India, we're talking 50, 60, 70 hours of transport time. For them to get held up for an entire day just because Chana appears on an invoice, it's not worth the risk. So that's why wholesalers won't even bother touching, because the Armentiaca and all those different ones, the little rainbow one, the Chana Blairii, which only gets about 4 inches, some of them are stunning, and they're easy to breed, and they're great aquarium fish, some of them, but they're just not worth bringing in because of the hassle. In regards to the Asian arowanas, the Asian arowanas are readily available. I wouldn't say readily, that's not really the right word, but they are available in Canada, and they range in price. You can get a green arowana for probably $300, $400 retail as a small one. It's all 100% captive bred, and they are all microchipped. And as they are all CITES animals, they all accompany the microchip that's embedded in the animal, also accompanies a certificate that shows the embedded, the number off that microchip. And that has to transfer with the fish right from destination, right to end consumer. And the end consumer at any point in time has to be able to provide that information. And the fish could be scanned, and it should show the chip. And you can get them for $300 for a basic green, all the way up to the sky's the limit on all the real super fancy ones that you see, the screaming reds and all that stuff. And but there's lots of them. Like, I know my local wholesaler up near me, when he does an order for them, we kind of wait for when the dollar's a little bit better. Like, our dollar is garbage right now. It's garbage. But when the dollar's a little bit better, he'll bring in, 50 or 60 of them of many different types. And they'll range all the way up to 5, 10K. And there's people that want them. It'll happen. You have some pretty amazing people in the States that are working extremely diligently. There's zero reason that fish should be protected the way it's protected, because honestly, it's one different appendix than your Arapaima. And your Arapaimas, you guys get into your country, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And there's no Asian arowanas that are being harvested out of the wild. Nobody's saying, oh yeah, that neon pink one, blue, black, silver scale, white edge. Yeah, that's 10K. Yeah, that was harvested out of Lake so-and-so. The ones that come out of the wild are gray. They don't have any color at all. So all these man-made ones there, and the farms out there producing them by very, very large numbers, but they're mouth brooders, eh? Like they're all mouth brooders, so they produce a smaller clutch than, say, a cichlid or some of these different scleropod and stuff that produce large numbers. So, was there any questions that we missed, guys? Oh, one guy said, how about a sturgeon? That's cold.
I would love to. Hello? I would love to have a sturgeon, but they're a cold water fish. I'd like to have them for the backyard pond we're building now. So a nice big diamond sturgeon or something like that would be nice.
How would you keep it? How would you stop it from freezing enough that it would have a big enough area? How big is this pond you're building?
40 foot by 30 foot.
Of course it is. Can't do anything small at OFR, can you?
No, sir.
Now, have you ever owned, and I've never seen this fish in the trade. I've only ever seen it, and I only honestly ever saw it once on that episode with that British fishing guy. I can't remember his name, and it comes from India, the goonch catfish that has those teeth like a dog.
We've had several of them here.
We've had many goonch.
Really?
But the problem with the goonch, we can get them in at a small size, and the largest one we've grown out was about 28 inches long. But the problem we have with goonch is they get over that 2 foot mark, and they pretty much have a mysterious death. Our 28 incher, we literally watched have a seizure in front of us. We had the fish for 3 years, grew it out to 28 inches long, and he was just an absolute beast. And we had our buddy over, came, and we had to show off this fish because we kind of had a bet going. He bought 3 of them. We bought 2, and ours was grown out to 28 inches, and his was 18. And he came over to see the size difference, and he looked at the fish. He's like, dude, that's so awesome. And he goes and starts looking at the other tanks, looks back at the goonch tank, and he's like, there's something wrong with your fish. And the fish literally starts seizing, flipped over, and died.
No idea. Now, see, if you guys,
no idea.
That is something I would absolutely love. That if you guys were closer, I would tell you anything that ever dies, I want you to freeze it and give it to Biggs. And Biggs,
we have it.
Oh yeah, I mean,
we have it frozen.
I'm not taking it home on a plane. You think I don't get enough?
I'm different to you.
The way I look when I go through airports, Rich. Pull that guy aside. What do you got there? Hey, gooch.
You tell us what fish you want, and if we run across them or we have them here and they end up dying of old age or whatever it may be, we can't freeze them and ship them to you.
Well, that's something that I think would be, there's a reason for it. You know what I mean? And that's a fish that you enjoy, and that's a fish that you can get and that you access. There's got to be a reason why. Now, I know from looking at the habitat and some of the stuff that I've seen just in the one video footage that I saw, they live in very, very fast water. They're not in super deep water, but it's going to be high oxygenated, and it's cooler water mountain stream. Not necessarily cold water, but cooler water, which will hold
cold water.
Yeah, it'll hold oxygen higher, but like there should be no reason that you couldn't keep them anything different than some of the stuff you're keeping, you know? I don't know. To me, that's the stuff that fascinates me, is trying to figure out why.
Right. Well, we're going to do a goonch again, but this time we are going to do a river stream system where we have power heads blowing across and the water coming out of one side, coming back in the other.
Yep.
And I'll
keep goonch.
Sorry, we lost you, Josh.
We lost my dad.
Anyways. No, I'm here. Okay. We're going to do the river system for them and keep them in the stream, fast moving water, give them their natural habitat, and then keep them down low in the fish room, because the fish room is kept at 80 degrees. So the tanks are all about 78, 79.
Yeah.
If we keep it close to the floor and don't put insulation there, we can keep them down about 72-ish.
Well, what's the plan? And I apologize if I missed a video, but what was the plan for the Bellagio tanks? Are they both running already?
You have to go and watch the video, sir. Actually, in the next few days, there will be a brand new update with the new
Bellagio
plan.
Tanks.
I just remember the last we talked about it, that you had to have like something to do with the stands, and you want to excavate the ground, the concrete or something to bring them down, and it was a much bigger project than you anticipated.
And then the next idea was to do addition on the side of the pool room and cut out the windows and have, the tanks outside in the new addition that you can see from the pool room. Well, we've got a new plan now. What's
You'll have to watch the video to find out.
Now, there may be a couple of viewers here that don't know who the guys at OFR is, but these guys have a house in Strongsville, Ohio, which is just outside of Cleveland. It's about 15 minutes away from the convention center where the Ohio Cichlid Association event is every year, and I'm generally there. I spoke last year at the big 25th anniversary, and I spent a few days staying with you guys. But the few people that might have joined here tonight that may not know about OFR, and I find it hard to believe, these guys have – it just looks like a normal house from the outside. It's a big, giant bungalow, and you go in the house, and it's a normal house. And then you go through the house into the back, and they have a large indoor swimming pool. And that's what it was. It was a swimming pool. And now it is a large fish tank. And how big is that swimming pool, Rich?
25 by 50 and 12 foot deep. And now it's a predator pool pond.
And how many gallons is that? It's like 40,000.
58,000 gallons.
58,000 gallon aquarium. Okay. And that's just one aquarium. And then they have the Bellagio tanks, which aren't they like 20 feet long or 24 feet long or something insane?
Each one's 20 foot long, 4 foot tall, and each one's 1,800 gallons.
And there's 2 of those, and they're not set up yet because I didn't watch the video or I missed the video. Biggs is bad, and that's what we do. And then at the end of the swimming pool, they have 3 large aquariums on the end of one swimming pool, and that have butterfly koi in some of them for Tracy, and then you have aquariums all down one side, and then there's that super cool bubble tank that you built for the scrap build. And then you enter into a different room, and this room has changed about 3 times in the times that I've been there. Every time I come, it's different. And you guys put a massive addition onto this room and made it how much bigger? Did you add like 12 feet or something?
It was 25 by 45 was the original build for the fish room. And then after we filled that up, we added on, 45 foot by 11 foot, because that's as far as we can go towards our neighbor's house. We have to have 10 foot from the property line. So I couldn't make it no bigger.
So now you're talking about adding on the other way.
On an addition on the other neighbor's side, yes. Yes.
And in this room, this wonderland that we've added onto already, how many gallons of water are in that room?
We're up to 98,000 gallons now altogether.
And these are all the aquariums that you see in Josh's feed and stuff like that. And I encourage the 1 or 2 of you that may not be members of Ohio Fish Rescue to please check out their channel. These guys do an amazing amount of work. They upload videos how many times? At least twice a week, right?
Every other day, nonstop, every other day.
Yeah, and you guys go live every Friday.
Yep. 7 o'clock Eastern time. And that 98,000 gallons is without the front pond or the new rear pond going in. That don't count because they're outdoors. They're not inside.
They don't count. Well, Ohio Fish Rescue has been doing it for a long time. Their motto is giving fish a bigger home, and they do it. These guys live by this motto. They do it day in, day out. They live for the fish, and as hopefully we've shown you guys, they are extremely responsible monster fish keepers, not just themselves, but in the way that they promote their message. They are always constantly going out to the people and talking about it. They are available constantly. If you join them on any of their Friday live feeds and ask them questions about any of the fish, be it your Oscar tank at home or anything else pertaining to monster fish, these guys will help you. These guys are absolutely true legends, and I'm extremely thankful to call them my friend. I think.
Well, thank you for that.
Adele did ask one last question that before we'll take care of this before we sign off. She said, "What are the best hacks you guys have learned that promote responsible monster fish keeping and care?"
I don't know about hacks that promote it. My favorite hack that I've learned is, I used to spend a fortune trying to get rid of ick when I first started in this fish hobby, 30, 40 years ago. And ick was always around. Every time you transport a fish, you'd get ick in your system, and I wasn't doing quarantine back then. The best hack that I've learned over the years is just turn your water up to 86 degrees for 2 weeks, and you won't have no ick no more. Yep. It's that simple.
86 degrees, 86.2 or something like that is the kill zone for ick. It can't survive. It can't survive.
Well, it's 85 point something is the kill zone, so I always turn it up to 86.
Oh, look at that. Fabio's joined us now. Fabio there is in the bottom there.
There he is. So, anytime we have an ick outbreak, we just turn up the heat and, don't worry about it. And it dies in the whole system. The babies, the spores can't be alive in that warmer water when they do have the spores. And the life cycle of the ick goes from 7 days down to like 4.5 to 5 days on the higher heat. So now all the parasites fall off of the fish, and the spores die that they have. So it completely kills them, and it don't turn your silicone blue.
Yeah, I got one question for both of you guys. This will go to you first, Rich. What made you do this? Why is OFR a thing? Why are you doing what you do?
Well, okay, I got into building hot rods. I was building hot rods most of my life, but my older son, Joshy's older brother, got into cars with me. And then me and Richie were working on cars so much, and Joshy, unbeknownst to us, we made him hate cars because we're out there working, and he's like, "Can we go in yet?" And we're like, "No, pumpkin, we're still working here. Hand us that 9/16 wrench over there." And he's like, okay, he just didn't like cars. So now that his older brother left, now I needed something to do with Joshy, and I've always had big tank, and having the big tanks, like I had a 300 in the house, and I had a 1,000-gallon in the garage. Just having big tanks, people want the word gets out. People want to give you their fish. I know you can take it, you take care of it, blah blah blah. And I was always taking fish in this whole last 25 years or so. But when we bought this house here, me and Josh really started getting into fish tanks, and we had that 4400 that we had never set up yet. So we bought this house.
Just started getting into fish tanks.
Right.
Just dabbling in it.
So we built the addition first. We set up the 4400 before the walls were built on the cement, and then we built the walls around it and started the Ohio Fish Rescue, and it just has taken off from there. Well, the problem is there's a million rescues popping up everywhere. Right. I get messages from everybody. I've got a 125 and a 55. I'm going to start up a rescue. I don't know how that works with that small tank, but okay, more power to you. But then they start only taking fish that they want. Oh, you've got this fish, that fish, and that fish. I'll take that one, but I don't want the others. Well, you're not a rescue at that point. You're somebody getting free fish that you want.
Yep.
And, so I don't, all these people get a hold of me and want to advertise their rescue with me. And I tell them all, I have to follow you. I have to watch you. I have to, see what you're about. I have to see how you handle things before I can back you.
Yeah, nobody wanted your backing when you had 7 subscribers, and a couple of tanks, when you were dabbling in it. But now that you guys, what's your subscription at? How many subs you guys have at OFR?
We got 84,000 on YouTube and 21,000 on Facebook.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that.
Really, not that much.
Earned, right? Each one of those is earned one at a time.
Right.
You guys do.
You're right. And that really ain't that much. We have friends out there on the internet, like Paul Cafaro's got 2.2 million followers.
Yep.
We don't have that kind of follower. We don't have that kind of, money coming in or nothing. This is all something that we've done out of our pocket for years. And now we just started on YouTube, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and building it's slow to build to 100,000. I've heard it gets faster after that.
There's other marketing things you and me could talk about when Josh isn't in the room. Like we could set up things like, win a dream date with Josh and pampering from Josh.
I love this pretty face.
Have Josh come over and do your nails. There's all sorts of things that we could market Josh in different ways.
Oh, yeah. I'm right there with you, buddy.
Okay, Josh. Besides meeting girls, what is your take on why you guys do what you do?
It is basically a fun thing to do in our spare time. You're doing something good for the community. You're doing something
in your spare time
for the fish.
Hey, it's a father and son thing. We do together.
Doing.
Hey, Dad, in my spare time, I would drive to Washington State, maybe pass out in the back of a van and
right.
a bunch of fish in my spare time.
Right. But no, it's a good father-son thing to do and hang out together. You don't get very many kids hanging out with their parents for very length of time. This is something me and him have built, and it's our baby, and we do this together,
You guys are in it together. You've been into it together since day one, and it's grown. And you guys have the testament to what you guys have built. It's all you. You're self-made. Nobody can take that away from you. And your knowledge, you've earned your knowledge not by reading books. You've done it by learning, by fighting and working your way through it and dealing with challenges and dealing with fish that nobody wants. You guys have fought
right.
one day at a time. So that's all props to every one of you guys. Now,
hey, let me tell you something.
Yep.
All them fish that we just brought back from Chicago, them 36-inch butterfly koi.
Yep.
Oh, Josh's battery died, so he didn't mean to cut out on you. We brought them back here and set them up in an Intex pool on the back deck. And the next morning I came out because I got home at 4 o'clock in the morning. I went back out there at 7 o'clock. I caught me a couple hours of sleep. By 7 o'clock, the water was so cloudy and foamed over. They had been spawning all night long. we have literally thousands of eggs. They're all over the walls. They're all over the hoses. They're all over the plants. They're everywhere. They're on the stems of the plants, the leaves of the plants, the pot of the plants.
The only thing I can tell you, Rich, is definitely if you're going to do a water change on that tank, that's the one tank, just based on what you've told me, that you don't want to put the hose in the tank and start the hose with your mouth.
Right.
That's the one.
Explain to everybody. Explain to everybody what that foam is.
Oh, it's just gross. I've seen. I remember when we've brought koi in at one of the wholesalers in town, and they're only like 14, 15 inch, but they were all, a lot of them. And in the vats the next morning, it literally looked like people went around and dumped cottage cheese and all of them. It was just gross.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the extra fluids from around the fish eggs when the females pass the eggs, and that's mostly the sperm from the males.
I'm earmuffing it. I don't want to know. Earmuffing it. Gross. Now, there was one guy said we didn't answer a question. Horror Gamer asked us, saying he said he has a serious question here. Let me just pull it back up here. Given what's happened in the pet trade, do you feel that bans are coming if we keep selling giants, like what happened in the reptile trade, the federal Lacey's Act, etc.? Now, that applies also in Canada. Maybe not the same. We don't have the Lacey's Act, but in Canada, even in the small community that I live in, there are still bylaws in the community that I live in of what you can keep and not keep. And sometimes those laws are written by people that really know nothing about them, like breed-specific legislations pertaining to pit bulls, and things like that.
Right.
Even though it's not a breed, but stuff like that, and like reticulated pythons. Do I agree that certain animals shouldn't be kept by certain individuals? Yes, but that's me imposing my opinions on somebody else, and that's not me. That's not up to me to do that. Right. What do you think?
I don't believe that any of these fish, these monsters, are going to be banned, because they basically put the ban out there for invasive species and problematic things.
Yeah.
And none of these fish will cause a problem, because if they're released into the rivers up here in Ohio and all that around here, they're not going to live. They're going to die come wintertime. So I don't see none of them being banned up here. Maybe in the southern states where a redtail can live in the rivers and Pacu can live down there. That's possible down there, but I don't see it happening up here.
Well, Florida is like an absolute hotbed for tropical fish fishing. You go to any canal, you can catch all sorts of stuff. You can catch Indian knife fish and peacock bass. It's really
clown knives.
Yeah. Up in Canada, where I live, in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. I live about 30 minutes east of Winnipeg, but up in Manitoba, Canada, there's a few things that are illegal to own. And some of them are really funny, but I'll start. Crayfish are illegal to own. Well, there's a reason behind that, because the rusty crayfish and the invasion of the rusty crayfish has been absolutely deadly and devastating to the natural crayfish species. And they don't want it transferring from one lake to another through boat bilges and stuff. So, that makes sense. Gambusia from Florida, the mosquito fish. That's illegal in Canada. Not illegal in Canada. I can say it's illegal in my province. It won't live through the winter. And the best one of all, the absolute best, this is the cherry on top, the fish that is illegal to keep in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Now, you're not from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. You're from Ohio, but I'm sure you can imagine what our native fish look like. Do you have walleye in Ohio?
Yes, we do.
You have northern pike and bass.
Yep.
And perch, all predatory, mean-looking fish. White cloud mountain minnows, highly illegal in Manitoba, because the threat that they could pose on our native environments.
Really?
Yeah. But
I see them just as more food for the predators.
Exactly. And those red stripes, they'll just blend right in our natural environments, because there's red flashy stripes everywhere in the environment.
Wow.
But they'll never ban goldfish. They'll never ban koi, because that's
and goldfish are so invasive.
And they're the worst one out of all of them.
Yeah.
So, well, I thank you, my friend. I'm just going to give a quick check. Make sure that we didn't ignore anybody. But thank you, my friend, Big Rich. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
It's been a great time with you, Chris. It's always a fun time with you.
Oh, we always have fun, my friend. I was supposed to be doing a live feed with you a couple of weeks ago. I said, "Oh, make sure." And then that week I came and I signed in and ready to go, and you had somebody else. And I was like, I told my wife the whole week. I says, I got to make sure that I'm ready to go on Friday at such and such a time, and everything. I got to help Rich. Got to do this. So no problem. Kids are all doing their thing, and I'm there, and he's got somebody else.
Really? I said that if I set it up with you and forgot, I'm sorry, brother. I'd had you on. You should have called me like I've called you on your live stream. You should have called me and I'd have just hooked you right in.
You help me all the time, my friend, all the time. You went out of your way to help me do this thing tonight. You know how I struggled with the tech side of it, so I'm honored.
Well, it's an honor, my friend.
Thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight. It was an absolute honor. I'd love to. I'm going to hopefully be able to do more of these where we can bring other guests on, such as legends like this. It's all going to be dependent when I'm on the road. When life kind of resumes back to normal, the Bigs usually is on the road for at least 2 Wednesdays out of a week, out of a month. I don't think it's not usually 2 Wednesdays in a week, but 2 Wednesdays out of a month. And they work really good when I'm in a hotel. I can plan for it. You get this beautiful backdrop.
Yeah.
But the backdrop is not the important thing here. It's the discussion that we have. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. With that, I thank you very much. Take care.
Stay fishy, my friends.
Take care, bud.
Bye.